Pause. Okay, I think we are on.
Okay.
Okay, hello everybody. I am Lauren from Lauren Majak Photography, as so many of you know if you're tuning into this. I have been working so diligently in my business and creating it around something that I absolutely love. And I found myself to be in a position where I'm working with the most amazing people. Like, I can genuinely say I am in love with my clients. And when we get together for headshots or their personal branding photography, it's just like this connection that that I don't know many other photographers get to have with their clients, and it's so cool. But given the recent circumstances with the coronavirus and being on quarantine and everything, it's actually pushed me to move beyond just photography and really help others do what I did for myself, which is building a brand that really fits the mold of who you are, instead of you trying to fit the mold of everybody else around you. So I'm helping people define their personal brand and to know what makes them different, so that they can be the go-to person for what they absolutely adore doing. So I wanted to bring on my beautiful friend, and one of my mentors, and now one of my own clients, Heidi Williams. She has just finished up her own personal brand clarity session with me and my What Makes You Different workbook. So Heidi, thank you
Oh my
so much
goodness.
for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. So I guess we'll start simple and easy, because we don't really know what we're doing. We're just along for the ride, just like you guys are. Tell me about what you do, what your business is, and yeah, we'll start there.
Well, what I've been doing for the past 8 years professionally is I refer to myself as a spiritual teacher, a guide. I give energy healing treatments. I teach classes and courses that help people to align with their life, help them to heal, help them to find their purpose, to awaken to the truth of who and what they are, and to work through essentially anything and everything that you could imagine. That's what I offer, and that's what I give in my business.
That's awesome. And I will say I became one of Heidi's students when I was at like the lowest point in my life. And I would not be where I am today without you. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for always showing up and being so willing to work. You always showed up willing to do whatever it took.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You made it easy.
Yeah. It's fun stuff. You're welcome. So we're here talking about your brand today, and I noticed that, and this came up even in our congruency check during the workbook, where you want to make sure that your brand is very congruent with who you are. And I've always seen that in you. Everything that you do and teach, like, you live outside of just classes and lessons and your sessions and everything.
Yeah.
So you are a person who I would say is always on brand. But diving into that, what is a brand to you?
A brand to me is everything that I stand for as a being, as a mother, as a friend, as a teacher, as a healer, and just to me, it represents everything that I am and how I want to show up and how I want to serve. So my brand is just, I guess, it's everything that I'm about.
I love that.
Really, truly. I mean, that's what it means to me.
Right. And yeah, like I said, I think you embody that perfectly. Because I've never felt, I know we talked about this. A lot of people say that they feel super comfortable being around you. They feel like you're seeing them and when nobody else has seen them, and they just feel like you hold this amazing space for them, that they can just open up and share things with you that they would never share with anybody else. And that's really cool to see you do, again, like in the studio and outside of the studio, whenever you're just completely dedicated to being of service.
Oh,
One,
thank you.
yeah, of course. So one of the things that I have admired about you as I watched you as my mentor go through these classes and teach, I mean, we were in what, like a year and a half together, like
Yeah,
classes and
at
stuff.
least,
Yeah.
at least.
I've taken
Mhm.
a good couple. I mean, I started with, I got a Reiki session from you, and then, oh man, then I
After
took an
that,
inner healing class, and then I got attuned Reiki 1, 2, and my Reiki master attunement from you.
mhm.
Took another other
7
inner
months,
healing
you
class.
took, yeah, you took the 7-month chakra class and then dove into it.
It's so much fun
Yeah.
stuff. But what I loved about all of that specifically was that you have evolved the way you have taught. You evolved all the content that you were teaching. You weren't afraid to say, hey, like, I'm learning all this new stuff. I'm evolving and growing so much. And you guys being in this class, I remember you specifically saying, you guys being in this class, at this time as I'm awakening means you are so much more awakened than you realize. And that was just such a
Yeah.
cool, that just to me as a student felt so good. I was like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I was, yeah, I was meant for great things. And, but yeah, I want to talk about that evolving. You're somebody who's fearless in evolving. So take me through like your journey, like what your brand has, what it started out as, and like what that has grown to be up to this point. And then we'll touch on, I guess we'll touch on like more from there.
Okay. Well, to kind of backtrack a little bit, just to explain how this all began initially, was around 20 years ago, close to 20 years ago. There was a tragic accident in my family and my life. And in that experience, I was scared to death. I felt hopeless. I was afraid. I honestly had no idea how to live without this person who had passed away in my life. And should I talk about him or
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
it doesn't,
However much you
well,
want to share, don't
okay. Well, it was a man that was extremely important to me. And I was married to him, and is the father of my 2 oldest children. And he was killed in a motorcycle accident, and my kids were 3 and 7. And again, in that, it was like, he was the first person that I had been really close to. Now, I had some friends who had passed away in high school, but this was like the first one that really hit home. And again, I didn't know what to do. I just didn't know what to do. Like, I was so afraid and scared. And I remember being able to see Jason some way. I could see him even after his death. And I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what it meant, but I could see him, and I needed to know that he was okay. Mm-hmm. And to kind of fast forward a little, I met with a psychic, a medium, a spiritual messenger with his sister and my ex-mother-in-law at the time. And that 2.5-hour exchange changed my life. I didn't know what to expect. I was nervous. We were afraid. We were like, I was so open-minded because I wanted to know anything and everything that I could about him, if he was okay, if he was at peace, what was I supposed to tell the kids, everything. Like, I just didn't know how to live without him.
Right.
And it created hope. It changed my whole entire life. That made me eager to dive into more understanding of what had just happened. So from that point on, I started reading books that literally blew my heart wide open. And when my heart was blown open like that, I was reading this material. I didn't know how I knew it, but I knew it. I knew it before I was even, it's like I knew what it was going to say before I turned the pages. And it literally changed everything about what was important to me, what life meant, what we were here for, and so I was just starving for more information. It went from like this little tiny inkling of thirst, but to like, I need to know more. So I couldn't read enough. I couldn't understand enough. And that catapulted into me taking classes and courses. And I went to school for around 10 years, did some intense inner healing. There was an amazing school in Spring Grove at the Pennsylvania School of Spiritual Healing. Katie and Alan Clark were my teachers, and they prepared me for the work that I'm doing now. They prepared me to continue to be able to do this work on my own. You know, we're always seeking teachers out and looking for, you know, always, I mean, I am always looking for the next teacher, the next inspiration, the next, you know, state of consciousness that's going to wake me up.
Right.
And so I had to do the inner healing. Once I did the deep inner healing, I wanted to help others. I wanted them to know that they can heal. I wanted them to know that they were so much more than just a body, that they were a being and a human, I mean, a being and a spirit, and they were eternal. And I also realized that I was extremely gifted with my intuitive ability to see, hear, feel, and know things, and also to make contact with the spiritual realm, with different dimensions, with energies, with you know, information. Like it was something that I'd always done, but I didn't know that. I didn't know what it was, you know, until I actually started taking classes and integrating it into my practice. So I started teaching Reiki, or I actually started giving Reiki sessions professionally. And from the very beginning, loved ones started coming in. And it was just amazing. Every single session was a learning experience for me. It was like having a whole nother, you know, layer opened every time I worked with someone. And that led eventually to my client showing up and saying, "Hey, I want you to teach me everything you know." And I'm like, You want me to what? You want me to do what? So I started teaching a women's healing group. And in that, I learned that I was able to really tap in and just become an instrument or a vessel. And I know it sounds crazy, but like the divine poured through me, and everything that needed to be said and experienced was happening for each and every person that I was working with. Mm-hmm. And I realized that I actually had that moment where it was like I left my body. I'm standing there going, "What? I can't believe that this is happening." Because I always knew, the words always came, and I knew that they weren't Heidi's words. They were these words of wisdom. They were these words that just poured through, and I could see how they were healing and making such a difference in people's lives. And again, my eagerness to continue my own healing evolution was always a top priority, because I knew that there's always deeper levels and layers for us to move through. And so even though, and as my, you know, work evolved, like you were saying, you know, as I was learning things, I was integrating it into my own life. I was contemplating it, meditating, crying, feeling, and I would share it with my students and with my clients. And it always was so perfectly timed, so synchronistically timed, because a lot of times something that I had just realized or worked through was exactly what my client needed that morning when I would meet with them and work with them. And it was just like watching them have these aha moments and this expansion and this awakening. You know, it just made me even more eager to always dive deeper, to always continue to read, to listen, to meditate, to seek, you know, more and more layers of awareness in my own awakening, so that I can be of the greatest service. So is that?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. So when one of the things that I love about what I get to do with all this personal branding stuff is just helping people own who they are and what they are and their story and everything that they know. And I think you have done that so well, even in just what you said, just owning your vulnerability and knowing that it helps other people in the moment. Yeah. Right. When you said that, when the wisdom came through, yeah, I just, you owning those things has been really awesome, and healing for other people. And that's one of the things that I want to help kind of change the world in. We're afraid to share our stories. We're afraid to be vulnerable. We're afraid to, we just give our power away so much to the idea that like there's a right or wrong way to do things. And so we're like, well, I did the things this way once and that worked, so I'm going to keep doing that. And then, and we stay stuck when really, like, if I take this from the spiritual perspective, we were made in the image of our creator, which means we were created to create. And if we're not creating, then we're destroying. And we see that in ourselves. It's very subtle. It's very sly in that, like, we start to slow down. We start to lose interest in things that we loved. We start snacking a little bit more, we stop working out, we start binge watching some TV shows and stuff, and we just like get really discouraged. And then it shows up as depression and disease and all of these things, and it's just, and then by that point we don't even know it. So it's so important to have a guide like you around who can help you identify that, and more so than that, identify the things that have been keeping you in that pattern and help you really break through all of those things. So I just want to say it's really cool that you have owned every single bit of your story, and you know so much that it has helped other people. One of the things I want to talk about your brand evolving and owning that change is your Reiki sessions. So for everybody who doesn't know, Reiki is an energy healing treatment. And I don't know, I used to explain it so well. We basically have, like, as we go through our lives, we basically put on armor, you know, as we have heartbreaks and bad experiences and traumas and all of these things that just tell us we're not enough and we're not good, or we're not good people, which is so far from the truth. We kind of put on this energetic armor and we put our guards up, and then in putting our guards up, we like block ourselves from life, from feeling good, and from creating. And Reiki really kind of helps you shed those layers, and that's the best like analogy I can use to describe what it does. But your Reiki sessions, like I said, changed my life. And the second I had a Reiki session with you, it was like all of these things fell apart so beautifully, so I could repair my life. And
I remember that session.
Yeah, like it was like a springboard into where I am now. And it's been like, obviously there have been tough times, that's life, it's going to happen, but I wouldn't change it for the world. But in regards to owning the change and everything, you've been called several times to do your Reiki sessions very differently, and you have just trusted and have gone with it. And tell me what that has been like for you.
Well, it's been such a cool experience, because initially, you know, when you're trained and taught anything, you know, you have the certification and you know the information, but once you get out and practice, that's how you create, you know, your authentic, you know, gifts and practice, you know. And so initially it was just, you know, wanting to get everything right, wanting to work in the energy centers perfectly, and, you know, just making sure that I was giving my clients everything. It went from that to, like I said, I was blessed to be very busy right from the get-go when I started professionally. And so I had countless opportunities to just realize new things and to expand. And so I learned, I can't begin, there's so much to share, because in the beginning, it kind of started out more basic, but it did not take long before it expanded to healing that I could have never imagined I would be doing. Mm-hmm. I was witnessing the willingness of people, and that's something that used to make me cry. When my clients would get on the table, they would be so willing to be open and vulnerable. They wanted to heal. They wanted to feel better. They wanted to be better. Mm-hmm. You know, they wanted more for themselves. And that willingness is what made all the difference in the level of healing that they were able to receive. And the things that I was able to see, and again, very intuitively, like in my mind's eye, I call them your soul senses. You know, I saw things being lifted. I felt that. And so from that being more like of a basic Reiki practice, and I also took, you know, a very long energy healing course, which used different types of energy healing modalities to enhance a Reiki practice or a Reiki session. That began to evolve and change. And I followed the guidance. I followed the intuition. Every single person was different. I had a very structured energy healing practice. That's the way I was guided. It was extremely structured. But I also realized that with each person, of course, it changed depending on what they needed and where they were. And so I learned so much more about the anatomy and physiology. I was more interested because I was being able to see how the work was influencing the anatomy in the body and the physiological response. So I dove into some old anatomy and physiology books that I had, did a lot of research there, which enhanced my practice. Learning about the energy centers, the chakras, took my energy healing practice to a whole nother level as well, because I understood the importance of the 7 main energy centers in the body and how they influenced, you know, the overall well-being of the body, and how our thoughts and emotions affected that. And again, that was a huge evolution in my practice. But again, in the healing for my clients, anything and everything you could imagine has happened in my treatments. People healing from abuse, physical, mental, emotional, sexual, being attacked, things like that, rape, you know, experiences like that, grief from losing loved ones. I've worked with parents who have lost their children. I've worked through siblings who have lost another, you know, you've lost a sibling, you name it. And all of those experiences, and being able to create that closure, you know, for someone who's grieving or didn't get to say what they wanted to say, or there was anger left, you know, just to be able to close that gap and create this loving experience was life changing. It was the most beautiful thing I could have ever imagined, on top of them physically, emotionally, mentally, and, you know, vibrationally healing. It was amazing. And so my eagerness and willingness to continue to listen and to follow the guidance and to follow, you know, it's guidance, you know, as you're evolving, and my work. So the work that I continue to do for myself by constantly wanting to read, to meditate, to listen to audios, to listen to spiritual teachers. But it's one thing to listen to them, but it's another to incorporate it into your life.
Exactly.
So again, through the years, as I have continued to awaken and evolve, my practice has absolutely done the same. And that's why when I say, like you did, there still are times when a new client will come in and they'll say, I don't really know why I'm here. Or they'll say, I don't know what's going, you know, I don't know how I'm going to heal. And I said, if you're here sitting on this couch right now, you are ready for a big awakening because of the way that I teach and the vibration of my consciousness. Also, I know that you were guided and led to me to get real busy and dive in, because I don't waste time, and we don't waste,
yes,
you know, we don't waste any time. So
I love that.
Just been,
oh, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just, as you can tell, I'm extremely passionate about it, because
yes,
it just continues to get more and more powerful, of course. And with each and every one of us, that's what happens to us. You know, the more we heal, the more we awaken, the more we realize and remember why we're here and what we have to offer and to be of service. Right. You know, that just, our ability to love, our ability to show up, our ability to serve, our ability to just be who we came here to be is strengthened. And that's what it's all about. I promise.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That was a long-winded answer.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. I want to, let me make sure this question has like come into my mind a couple times while you were talking. You talk about how much you meditate and you sit with the information that you have received, both intuitively and from teachings and everything. And you talk about the importance of incorporating those things.
Yes.
Which I absolutely love and adore, and I'm such an action-oriented person. I don't read books that I'm not going to be able to take something from. I don't tune into webinars. I don't tune into interviews. I don't tune into anything where I don't ask myself, like, how can I apply this in my life, and really get something out of it. And I think that is a huge part of like my success, both internally and externally. And man, so cool, such cool stuff. But one of the things that I seek to teach with personal branding is that what you do, what everybody does, no matter what it is that you're doing, you're not original. Like, your content is not original. Nobody's original, and that's perfect. It's in how you make that content your own. That is. So I wanna talk to you about the importance of spending time with yourself, and spending time incorporating your lessons and the teachings that you have received, in ways that resonate directly with you and the ways you want to teach them, so that you can put them out in your own way, because that is what makes you your brand. Yes. That is what makes people, the right people, drawn to you. That is what makes your service so different. So tell me about the importance of being alone with yourself and making your own internal decisions. How important that is to you and how you use that.
Okay. It's something that I became more and more aware of the importance as I continue to do the work that I do, because it is all of our work is authentic and unique. So it's one thing to read books and to understand things and statistics and, research and all of that. It's one thing to do that and then to repeat it, but it's another to take it in. And how is this, to take it in? Like I used to say, chew on it,
Yes.
take it in and just chew on it. Remember when I would say that?
I do. I love that.
Yeah, it was like chewing this piece of truth like a hard piece of jerky. You don't want to just rush through it, but you're like chewing on it. And you want to ask questions. How do I feel about this? What does this mean to me? And initially, what I always love about my experience, and like you said, incorporating everything that I'm learning, because it's an intuitive knowing of, like, when you are working through something, whether, I don't care what business it is, anything that you're, or part of your healing or whatever it is you're wanting to achieve and attain, when you're putting your energy and your focus into it with diligence and you're wanting to learn more, and you just put out there, what next is there for me to learn? How can I improve being of service? Mm-hmm. That's the greatest question you could ever ask. It opens up every avenue and every door. And it's such a pure, like, it's that your intention is so purified when you say, how may I serve? How may I be of service? Because your brand is all about how you, as your own unique individualized self, improves lives of others, brings your richness into the lives of others, and creates whatever it is you're wanting to. Like, they're going to be drawn to you. And so initially, when we put that out there, books are going to show up. Someone's going to say, oh, hey, I have these books that happened with you and I at your open house.
Oh my gosh, yes, that's right.
We were talking and I was like, oh yeah, what about this person? And you ran upstairs, you grabbed 2 books, and I mean, they were both very influential and powerful. Remember Anita Morjani's book, yes, and Kyle Cease?
I actually have to interrupt you with this, because there's so many synchronicities that I see, so many like coincidences that I see between me and the people I work with, my clients. Like, it's like super similar tattoos in the same place, and like same chipped tooth in the exact same spot in nearly the exact same way. That's a synchronicity that we actually share is the book, because you said that at the beginning of your journey, like one book just found you. And I believe when we were talking about it outside of this space, you said it was a Sylvia Browne book?
Mm-hmm. It was called The Other Side and Back.
Okay, perfect.
And yeah, that book just blew my everything wide open. You name it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I experienced at the time of my like initial spiritual awakening myself. It was somebody had like prayed. I was like trying to go back to church, trying to figure out what I believed in, and somebody prayed for me that the right book would find me. And I was like, who is this lady? Like, I don't even like to read. Like, I was like, yeah. And then like the next day on Facebook, I see this interview from this lady, by this lady, Anita Morjani, who had stage 4 cancer and went into her final coma and experienced what the afterlife was like, and then learned all that only love is real, and just had this huge, she came back and lived life completely fearlessly, and she teaches that message. And then that book, so we both like had a book that found us and started our awakenings for us. And it's so cool that I had an open house in my headshot studio back in October 2019. And yeah, that was the exact book that came up. And it's funny because my mom and I were wondering where that ended up these days. And it's just cool to like look at like the book, like the path of that book has taken. So yeah, sorry for interrupting you in that. I don't even
no that was really cool to add. Yes, I mean, synchronicities, I was told that we needed to explain what a synchronicity is.
Yeah.
And how how it brings so much more quality and awareness into our life. Is a synchronicity is most often understood as a coincidence, where you have those at the same time you have an aha moment, or, you know, something shows up at the exact perfect time and it just changed your life, but you're like, what a coincidence. Or I was just talking about that and boom, you know, there it is. Or you were just thinking of a loved one and all of a sudden you find something that reminds you of them, or you stumble on a picture of theirs, or, you know,
Or they call you. That happens to me all the time.
Yes. They are these just beautiful signs from the divine, from the infinite, from the, you know, or that intelligent, eternal life that's a whole nother video, but
that, yeah, oh my gosh, we could talk about those for hours, especially,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
But no, it's okay. There's signs, you know, that take us from one experience into the next, and also help us to understand that we're not alone, that we're not, you know, just these mindless little humans walking around, that we are creators, and what we think about, we create and manifest, and that there is, you know, this beautiful plan and divine love, and I could go on and on, but there's so many more beings and intelligent, loving energies, and, you know, that are working with us, helping us, guiding us, and they're always leaving signs as well. And so, you know, yeah, that's somewhat. And well, Dr. Ken Harris, he's the one that wrote that book about synchronicities that really clarifies, you know, the book, and which is really cool. So that's an amazing book that
meeting him in and of itself was a synchronicity for me. So yes. We were at this event called Breakthrough for transformational authors. Heidi and I were, because I was Christine Closer is her name, is the lady who runs it, and it's held in our hometown of York, and people from all over the world travel there, and I was really grateful and blessed to be Christine's personal branding photographer, and so she invited me to go this year, and she had spoken about my services, and then later on, like, I'm walking on outside just trying to, you know, you get a lot of energy in those moments, and you just kind of need to be alone to process it and everything, and so I go outside, and there's this guy there who starts trying to talk to me about landscape photography. And I'm really like, I'm not interested. Like, I just want to go. And then he asks, so like, what's your book going to be about? And I was like, well, I don't have, I'm not writing a book yet, but I think I'm going to, at this moment, I would love to write a book about how I built my business on synchronicities, because it is such a huge part. And he goes, well, you're going to love this then, because I'm about to publish my book on synchronicities. And I was like, what? That's crazy. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what drove him to say the next thing, but he just goes, you know, I was Wayne Dyer's chiropractor. And I was like, I swear Wayne Dyer is one of my spirit guides. Like, it was just such a cool moment. But yeah, I think when you are in a business that is truly aligned with you and your life purpose and like what feels right to you, and not like what is everybody else doing,
right? Life
will constantly show you synchronicities that remind you like you're on the right path and you're headed in the right direction. And
the more you pay attention, the more you will see, because they are everywhere.
Yeah. And
the
they're
divine
just entertaining. Like, life is so magical. Life, and that's just like the reality of it. It seems magical until you realize like that's normal. Like, that's how the universe talks. It's just so really, really cool.
It is cool. And yeah, definitely synchronistic. So just to kind of type what you were talking about was, you know, incorporating what you're learning and everything into your life, you know. So what I've learned that has been the most influential and powerful for me to be the best teacher, the best healer, the best space holder, you know, the best guide, mentor, whatever it is taking what I've been taught, you know. And I know that I've attracted the teachers at the right time. Again, another synchronicity. I've attracted certain teachers when I'm ready, because sometimes I wasn't ready, you know, for the content or the information, because I was working through an awakening to a certain level, and then another one would come in, and just when I would think that I knew who and what I was and what we are, it was like a whole nother level of my consciousness was just blown wide open. And I live for those moments. I love them, even though, you know, they make my whole mind bend. I live for those, because in those moments, so much comes out of it for the greatest good of all, and for the greatest good of my clients. And so I highly recommend for anyone, you know, whatever you're learning and wanting to to really bring out in your practice what you're drawn to, what feeds you. It's the information that feeds you. It's the information you can't get enough of. And it could be any topic that you're drawn to, but when you chew on it and, and you contemplate it, you question it, you create a sense of awareness. And initially when you're aware of something, you think about it and you're like, okay, yeah, oh, I thought about that. Oh, that's right. I read about this. Then it becomes part of your natural thought process, and you are incorporating these ideals, or you're incorporating these processes or things that are helping. Maybe it's with finances, maybe it's with, photography, or anything that's enhancing your practice. You start incorporating it into your life. You're authentically becoming the brand that you want to put out into the world. And so to me, that's why it's so important to take it in, whatever it is that's interesting you, or that, that's bringing that excitement into your life. Make it your personal experience first. That way you're authentically, like, truly coming from a place of, I'm not just telling you this because I think it's cool. I'm not just sharing this because I believe in it. No, you're like, no, I feel it. I know it, because there's a sense of like something resonating with you. And then there's another thing of like, you know it to be true. And you're like, yes, I know this. I know this is amazing. I know this is how I can help. I know this is how I can make whatever your brand is better. And then it goes to a level of conviction. No one can change that.
Yes.
No one can change the way you feel and how solely involved in the information, in your, the quality of all of it, everything. No one can take that from you. Like, you are so invested, it's so integrated into your being and who you are, that will take your work to the nth level. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Oh my God. Yes. That was so powerful what you just said. You articulated that so beautifully.
Well, I was trying. There was so much information coming. I was like, you'll see me like short circuit and like smoke go out of my head.
That's so funny. I also love your jokes. That's like, when we were going through, I think that's part of what really makes your brand is being real. And when we were going through your workbook the other day, you were like, it's like the egg just cracked open and it's just pouring out, and you're like, and the egg's a Cadbury egg.
And it was a Cadbury egg, like it was a real sweet, yummy egg. Yeah, it wasn't like
so funny. So yeah, it was like a regular egg. Okay, so I have like one final thing I want to talk about.
Okay.
So when we're talking about this, like, this evolution of your brand, I mean, you started out doing Reiki and you opened up to classes, but even your Reiki practices went from hands-on, and then you were guided to do hands-off for a while, and you were like so afraid that people are gonna like hate it, but then everybody loved it. And so like, it was again trusting yourself and going with that, and now you're back to hands-on and everything.
Yeah, 3.5 years.
How long?
3.5 years with hands off, and then now that I'm doing it again. Yeah,
that is so cool. And I know you said it's been so much more enhanced and powerful each time you have that new leap. And I think that's what we have to remember and trust, that like every time you pivot in your business, that's a beautiful thing. Like, it's never anything to be afraid of. You're just getting to the next level. I know personally, I'm not afraid of I'm called to, like, I follow what I'm called to do in the moment. Like, I started out as a wedding photographer, and it was the wrong business for me. I love shooting weddings and I love the people I work with, but focusing on that full time as my main thing was not it. And so I went from that to being a Scrum Master in corporate America. And then I took my year off and I got into Reiki, and then I went back to photography, and now it's evolving to personal branding. And they're all so connected, and that's awesome. And the more fearless you can be in that and just own it, the more success you're opening yourself, not just you, but others to, you're opening them up to success as well. But when I have a bunch of notes laid out in front of me that were about things that you said while we were going through your What Makes You Different workbook. Give me 1 second to just sit with this. Okay. You said, yes, here we go. All right. So you said, I've never felt like I had the right to do the stuff I don't want to do. And you're like, like you own everything that you have done so far. And going through this workbook, this What Makes You Different workbook with me, you realize that your brand is about to evolve even more. So like you've been in your business Total Soul Connection, and you're starting to like break through it and say like, I want to be Heidi, like I want to present myself to the world as Heidi. And yeah, so like what does the next evolution of Heidi Williams and what you do and your service, what does that look like after having gone through this personal brand clarity experience?
Well, it was like this explosive aha, holy, you know what moment where, you know, I'm like, Lauren, I know, I get it. Like it was, because the whole process of answering all these questions, I have it here printed out. That's why I keep looking over there. But just working with you was so much fun. I mean, it was so amazing. I mean, really, the experience it was so awakening. I mean, I know I use that word a lot, but it was, you know, and just to even, like you said, own the work you've done and own the processes you've been through, and just, you know, your growth and your own expansion, it was amazing. But what I realized toward the very end, you know, in this workbook, going through that with you, and the way that you worked with me was beautiful, because you would ask me a question, I'd say, okay, now what do you mean? Like what? You know, I could bounce things off of you, and you would give me these examples, which was really helpful. But what I realized is I've always wanted, more than anything, to be of service. I've always wanted to help humanity wake up and realize how amazing they are, how powerful they are, and who they are. I mean, and in that there is so much freedom and liberation. And I've always wanted to help Mother Earth. The more that I have awakened, the more deeply I love Mother Earth. And, you know, her spiritual name is Gaia. I mean, love, love, love her. And animals. I mean, the more, because when you wake up and realize and you see and feel things, you love life. Every little critter, every tree, every flower, every blade of grass. I mean, all of it, every mineral. Like, it's so, yeah, I don't want to get too carried away. So in that love and wanting to, you know, love Mother Earth and wanting to be the best that I could be, not just for humanity and to help humanity wake up, but to be the best citizen and steward of Mother Earth, you know, and to just be of the greatest service for Earth and for all the animals and all the life that exists everywhere. So what I realized is I've always wanted to be of service. And I know that there's nothing more important than at the end of our life. We talked about this. This was a big awakening. I know at the end of our life, whether it's a life review, you know, when our body shuts down and dies, we have a life review. We all have one where we sit with our guides or our angels, or we sit with, you know, God or Jesus or whomever it is, and we review our life. And I know that the number one question is, how did I serve? How well did I serve? How well did I use this opportunity with this vessel that I was given, the sacred vessel that I was given? How well did I serve? And what impact did I make? You know, that there's nothing that's going to be more important to us. It's not going to be about, oh, look at that house that I got, and look at all that money that I made, and look at all the, you know, the cool awards on my wall, and look at all the, you know, none of that is going to matter. What is going to matter is how well we served and how we showed up in this life. And so a lot of people that I've worked with feel jaded by their past. Same here, you know, unworthy, not good enough. Who do I think I am? What makes me stand out from other healers? What makes me better than, you know, working with someone else or whatever? We all have that. And especially in our brand and wanting to be so authentic and so unique, you know, when we allow our past, our past experiences, decisions or whatever to hold us back. And we allow those old outdated beliefs and patterns and feelings, or whatever you want to call it, traumas, to influence our future. But when we can do some work to work through that, we can look at our past as wisdom and say, this is who I am because of that. This is how much I've grown because of that. It helps people to realize that they are pioneers. They've never done this. No one has ever done what you've done, the way you've done it, how you've done it, and been exposed to what you have like that. So no one has ever been you, and no one can do what you do the way you do it. I want to help people to be of the greatest service that they possibly ever can be, no matter what your past is. We can dive into your past. We can work through all of that. All this work that I've done thus far for myself, with my every client, every healing session, every one-on-one consultation, you name it, has prepared me for this type of work to take it to the next level, because I'm going to take you to that nth level of whatever that is, wherever you want to go. I want to take you there. And that was the awakening of not just being, I don't want to just help you get through your grief. I don't want to help you just move through something to where, oh, I feel better now, but I'm going to continue to stay here, in these patterns or beliefs. No, I want to take you to that place that you are so proud of, that decision that you made to be all in, to be so proud of, to be of the greatest service you can be. And of greatest service does not mean you're a slave. It doesn't mean you're going to have to change your life and do things you don't want to do. It's the complete opposite. It's when you start doing what you were created to do. It's why you came here. And when you're doing that, nothing is more important. Nothing is more fulfilling. And everything else comes into place. And I'm just having this own realization myself. Again, it's like when I have it, it's like I can help other people because I don't have everything figured out. I do not have everything perfectly in alignment. Trust me, I have things that I'm working on constantly, to overcome. Every day I want to overcome myself. Every day I want to overcome my past, my ego, feelings, fears, all that stuff. So that's where I went from just, wanting to help people. Of course, I want to help people to move through things and be so much better off, but it's taken it to a whole nother level. And I didn't realize it until the very end of working with you.
Yeah.
After all the questions and the way you tied everything together, it was like, oh my God, Lauren, like, this is it. And it's not so far away from what I thought, but it just blew my mind and it tied everything together beautifully. And so that is what this work allowed me to do. And you allowed me to be proud of the time and the energy and the work, not in an egocentric way, but just proud of the willingness that I have.
Yeah.
And so for everyone that's wanting to work with you and to find what their brand is, when you invest your time and you invest your money and you invest your energy and your focus, that is so important and profound. And so when you're doing that for the greatest good of all, and you're doing that in wanting to work with you, it changes everything. It takes everything from the unimportant things in life that we dwell on, that we think about. It takes it into the most important things in life that life is about. And I promise anybody who's listening to this, that the work that you're doing, and I told you several times while we were doing it, the universe is leaning in and is really, really interested in this, because the love that you're pouring into this, your dedication, your devotion, everything that you've worked toward to be of service. And I know how all in you are. It's tearing me up because I love you so much and I've watched you grow and I've watched you evolve. Is this workbook, life-changing. It will take you on an amazing journey of where you think you might be or where you are, and help you to understand all the work that you've done. It'll take you to a whole nother awareness and a whole nother level of awakening in how you're going to be of the greatest service, and in a way that you can be all in. Like, yeah, you're going to be scared. There's going to be times, anytime that I changed something about my practice, I was scared. I was really scared. But I always kept going. I just kept trying and I kept doing it. And then in it, I experienced why I was guided to do something different, or why I was supposed to change the way that I did. And you will too, so you're going to be afraid. You might be really scared, but the thing of it is, you're going to realize that in that's where your strength evolves. That's where your passion, shows through. And you in this have created such an opportunity that I'm telling you, it's leading edge consciousness. It is so authentic to the person that you're working with. There's no way that it can't be. And I relate to this so much because this is how my work is. everything that we do, yes, it is amazing and it is powerful, but it's so authentic to the person that you're working with. And that's what this experience is. So I recommend it to everyone. I think everyone, I mean, even if it has nothing to do with business, it helps people to understand, like, who am I?
Right.
And everyone is an entrepreneur. We all are.
Yep. And it just gives you the confidence to really own it and not unapologetically.
The confidence. Yes, the awareness, the tools, like, you know what, wait a second, I have been so dedicated, I've been diligent, I kept getting up when and other people, I mean, we all know what, when other people doubt us or question us or make fun of us or say things, that hurt us, again, it's about getting up and persevering and moving through. And a lot of times the skeptics are the ones that make us want to work harder, and so
yeah,
this definitely is one of the most beautiful, powerful, amazing opportunities for someone to really identify and understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. Because why am I doing this? If you're going to put everything into it, it has to be that important to you. It has to be something that you have, it's your baby, or it's to me, it's what I was called to do. I had no idea I would be doing this work. 15 years ago, I had no idea I would be doing this work.
Yeah.
It called me. And if you're, listening to this, or if you're interested in working with Lauren, you are being called to go to the next level of your work and take it to that nth degree, I like to call it, of how may I serve, but how may I serve in the greatest way that no one else can, because nobody can do what you do. No one can do it the way you do it.
And I do want to say, yeah, we overthink that piece so much. And I know I have. I know I was working with this guy who lived out in California. He was supposed to be my marketing intern and ended up being more of a marketing consultant than anything. And at that time, he was like, well, you need to know what makes you different, and you just need like he was talking about videos, and he's like, you just need a thing to put in there that's you, that people will know you for. And I was overthinking it so much, and I was I don't know, I need we put so much pressure on ourselves to get it right and to have all of this figured out. But honestly, me showing up as I am, in the outfit that I am, sitting as I am, talking to you as I am, that
in our bedrooms. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. That is my brand. That is who I am. Just you don't have to have it all together to be successful. And that's really what I want to help people do. And I have to go in this quick rant because it's just so true. As creative entrepreneurs and creatives, whether you are starting your own business, you're a freelancer, or you're just trying to score a job that actually fulfills you. And side note, with your point about service, being of service, it should feel good. It should feel alive. It should feel easy. It should be fun. Yes, be diligent and be dedicated, but it doesn't.
It shouldn't be forced. No.
Exactly.
If you're forcing it, then it's not where you are, but you'll figure it out.
Right. And it's time to look at that and say, where do I need to pivot? What isn't working for me? And so as creative entrepreneurs, we are constantly questioning and asking ourselves, what does make me different? Because I remember going through that as a photographer. I was my work isn't any different from anybody else, so why would anybody want to book me? And and I lost a lot of confidence in that. I just allowed that to be a reason for me to feel like crap about what I did, but to still try really, really hard to put myself out there. And then nothing was working. And I was just convinced I was bad at business, but it was never that I was bad at business. It's just that I didn't know what made me different. I didn't know my value. And
Can I interject? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to interject at a point that's good for you to stop.
Sure. Oh, okay. Well, you're good. Trust me, I'm good.
Well, I just remember when you were going through this, you were taking classes when you were going through doubting yourself. And it's one thing for everyone to say, oh my gosh, but your work's amazing. It's so authentic. It's so different. You had to figure that out for yourself, because if you doubt yourself that much, it doesn't matter if everyone's telling you differently, because you're the one that's going to be resisting it, and you're the one that's not going to be allowing it into your life and allowing those clients that see your work and go, oh my gosh, you're the perfect one. I need you. And I remember you being in that where you were just where you're in a state of resistance. and not allowing yourself to accept, you know, because I mean, when I shook my head earlier, it wasn't because I was saying, yeah, what makes your work stand out? Your work has always stood out.
See, and I didn't know that. Like, I could not have seen that for myself. So that point is exactly true.
And that's come up with many clients that I've had too, you know, where I'm like, wait a sec, are you kidding me? Like, you're so different and unique and awesome. And they're like, no, I'm not. Yeah. So it's one thing to be told that, but it's a whole different story to feel it within yourself and to own it. Like you said, what I love about the work is you allow people, even I'm much, much more confident in the work that I do now than I ever have been. That's awesome. And again, it's because of that inner healing work, but this packet helped me to like take ownership and like feel more confident than I ever could. And that's what people are wanting in, you know, being that's the difference of being able to just own it and recognize it and say, I am really cool at this. I'm really good at that. Or, you know, yeah, these people are amazing and they're talented and they're really super famous, but they don't see things the way that I do, or take this picture, this shot the way that I do. So
exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was.
No, and I adore that, because that's the truth. Like we don't see our value. We don't see what makes us different. And there's a book called The Shack that I have not read. I've only read like the introduction of so far, but there's this one quote in that says, Nancy is so good at common sense that she doesn't even see it for the gift that it is. And that is exactly, like, I just needed to pick up that book that one time to read that one sentence. And that's how our work in our life is. We just don't see how phenomenal we truly are. And that's not an empty phrase. Like, all of us have something.
It's a process. Yes.
Yeah, it is. But we think that it's like, we aren't aware that we don't know our value. Like, we know, like, but because we're asking ourselves, like, what makes me different? I'm no different. But we don't know that that's the problem. And like, we just assume the best way we're gonna get ourselves out there is by working hard and putting and cutting our prices in half. But in doing that, we run into so much burnout. And so many clients, I know you hate the word bottom feeders, but like, I always use the word bottom feeders and like couponers. We run into people who just want the deal and are willing to make you feel like absolute crap to get it. And then like, you're bending over backwards for them, trying to make them happy. And they're having like a ridiculous list of demands. And you're like, I just can't keep up with this. But like, and then even then, like, by that time, you're like, your prices are probably cut like to a quarter of what they were. And you're like questioning your worth. You're like, am I worthy of this? Oh my God, like, I'm such a horrible person. And I don't know. Then you're just thinking you're not working hard enough, and you're going to go on, like, you go on telling yourself, I'm like, I just need to like put in a couple years and then it's going to pay off and everything. But like, if you continue down those patterns down that road with those patterns and those beliefs, it's just like, you're never really going to allow yourself to get out of that. And I know that's something huge that so many of us struggle with. And that's something that I had to break out of, and I have broken out of. And now that I see it, like, I can't go back. Like, I can't go back at all. And I know my worth. I know my value. I know what makes me extremely different.
It's that conviction.
Yes, that conviction. Because exactly.
Once you reach that, and you know, it's then the skeptics and the naysayers, there's no ammo there. There's no buttons to push, you know.
Exactly.
And I learned that a while ago, you know, because that happens a lot when you're the crazy lady talking to dead people and seeing things that most people can't see, you know, but you care so much about the work that you're doing that you're like, okay, you know, whatever. But you do, and in anything that we do, I think that's a big process of us breaking through to the next level of what it is we're here to do, or what it is we're dedicating our life toward to do, you know, to be the thing that's that important.
And for the right people. Because we're often like thinking like, I'm not working hard enough and I just have to get through this for the next couple of years and then I'm going to have my big break. But like, it doesn't happen that way. It's not that you're not working hard enough. It's that you're working way too hard for the wrong people. And like, this is one of these things too, that this workbook does, is it allows you to identify that. Like, it allows you to identify what kind of people would really feed your soul to serve.
Yes.
So you had a lot of breakthroughs with that too. And
I did.
Just
well, and it helps you to not, you want to serve everybody. I want to help everybody. Not everybody is ready to be helped. Not everybody wants your help. Not everybody, is your ideal client. And you really help in that, to identify and recognize, like, not only who your ideal client is, but who do I want to work with? I mean, that sweetens the deal. I mean, so much. And it takes you off the hook in all these different ways, because you're going, wait, you mean I don't have to serve everyone? And it's resistant.
Yeah.
I'm fighting with these people to get them. No, you get to choose who you want to work with. You get to invest your time and energy into who you get to work with, because there's nothing better. Like, I'm so blessed because I tell my clients, I love you. I'm hugging them, kissing, I love you. I mean, who gets to do that? Like, how many people get to hug their clients, tell them they love them, that you're that connected to them. I mean, that's super cool. And again, whether you hug and love them or not, there's still this deep appreciation of being able to find that ideal client. And, something that I'm guided to share. Do you mind if I share something as you were speaking? During this time of stillness, the do less, be more, is something that you and I've talked about in great detail. It was given to me. I just actually found it in one of my journals this morning, and I wasn't trying to. It was another synchronicity. I opened right up to it the day that I was doing some guided writing, where I just kind of get downloaded with information from my higher self and my guides. And it was, you don't have to do anything, dear child. I'm like, what do you mean I don't have to do anything? Just be. And I even said, how do I be? How do I just be? And so when we slow down and we allow ourselves to stop proving who we are, proving that we're worthy of being as great and as, talented and gifted as we are, when we stop trying to compete. I mean, competition burns people out. Yeah. When you can just focus, instead of putting all that energy toward pushing and forcing and making things happen, when you can just take a break, from that and invest in who you are, be who you came here to be who you love to be. Yeah. That is such a difference. And this time now, with us slowing down, I mean, literally the whole world has had to slow down. Thank God. I mean, Mother Earth needed this in more ways than anyone could ever imagine. We needed this so that we can realize and recognize, like, wait a second, what was I doing that was serving me? What was I doing that wasn't? And how can I show up differently? And also just giving yourself time to rest and to recalibrate and, find out, like, what is it that I want to do? Like, this is a time where I think a lot of people are freaking out. They're still wrapping their head around it, but this is a perfect time to contemplate even two of these questions would be enough for someone to really contemplate, how they want to show up differently in their life and what's important. Yeah. We're going to come out of this so much more awake than ever. And, in doing this and honoring and recognizing, like, who am I? What do I stand for? What do I want? What do I want to be seen as and recognized as? It can be as off the wall as you want it to be, because there are people waiting for you to show up. They're waiting for you to be exactly the way you are. Yep. Take your mask off. They can be exactly
the way that they are.
Because they are, yes, and you're going to help. And this is something else that I love, is when we do that for others, we're like, we're the living example that it's okay. Like, hey, if they're doing it, I can do it. And it makes it easier for other people to step outside. So this is a perfect time to stop forcing and stop trying to make things happen. And I think a lot of people are going to come out of this wanting a different job. Yeah. They're going to realize that the work they've been doing isn't what they want. It's what they had to do to make ends meet. But they're having enough time to slow down. Yep. And to really think about, wait a second, how has this been working out for me, for my family, for my relationship with my loved one, your wife or your husband, your kids. And I think a lot of people are going to come out of this, like, choosing different things to do and the way that they want to spend the rest of their life and how they want to be invested. Any of these questions help people to clarify that. I mean, and someone might just, I know there'll be many people with your brand. You're going to go in and start working with you with this workbook. There's going to be people that are going to go, wait a second, this is what I thought my brand was. Mm-hmm. but it's so that, you know, it could be something that's much different than what they thought it was. And they're not going to realize it until they get on the other end of this workbook and work
Until
through it.
I'm pulling out the right questions in them, because
You are.
yeah, it's not like you said itself, like you said yourself, I've been asked these questions before, but never in this way. And it's
Right.
getting, like, building your brand and your life, honestly, is all about becoming brutally honest with yourself.
Oh, yes.
And having somebody who can bring that out in you is everything. And that is something I absolutely own. Because I'm brutally honest with myself all the time. It has been what has made me so successful, in every single way possible. And
and if you're not willing to be brutally honest with yourself, you're just kidding yourself. You're just
wasting
extending
your money and everything.
Yes, because you're just, I mean, and it is what it is. Some people, it takes a little bit longer than others, but
right.
You put the cards on the table and you make people feel safe and loved and, open, like just your presence and the way that you are. You have a very loving presence. You have a very inviting presence. And so it's not like you're going, so, what kind of things are you going to bring to the world? And you're and they're going, oh my gosh. It's a way that you're working with them as well that is inviting and helping them to feel safe and even ask the questions that they're going to be more willing and open to answer. So it's amazing work. And I'm telling you, the universe is leaning in and listening and paying attention to all of this. The vibrational content of it, the alignment of it, it's leading edge. It's right where humanity needs to be in really making the decision to be who you came here to be and to love every part of who you are and to own every part of who you are and to show up in this world as a beautiful, creative being that you are.
Thank you. You said that
yeah,
so well.
Thank you.
So how can people find you and learn more about your work?
How can they find me? You can find me on totalsoulconnection.com. That's my website, and I have my services there. It's a good way to get in touch with me. You can find me on my Total Soul Connection Facebook page, and I also have an Instagram page, and it's Heidi Williams. My Instagram page is Heidi Williams, with Total Soul Connection. So, and again, like with all of this work, and everything, it's going to be changing. My website, my pages, everything's going to be changing. Not completely like what it's all about, but it's just going to be enhanced because of my experience that I've had with you. I'm excited.
I love the energy. I mean, like, it's so easy to go through something like that and then to not follow through in it. And I just know you're absolutely going to. And it's just really, really cool to see. So thank you for showing up for yourself. Thank you for showing up for me and being here and talking so willingly about all of this and so enthusiastically. I absolutely love it. So if you're interested in learning more about this What Makes You Different workbook and building your own personal brand, so that you know what makes you different, and you can become the go-to person for what you absolutely love to do, we can talk. You can find my work on elmadrackphoto.com. But this is just getting started, so finding me on Facebook, or reaching out through there on through my personal page as Lauren Madrack or Lauren Madrack Photography, that page there, we can absolutely get in touch. But thank you so much for such a beautiful conversation today, Heidi. I'm so
Thank you for having me. I love you and I appreciate you, as you know.
Thank you. I'm going
with my whole heart.
Stop recording now. So thanks everybody. Take care.